Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your Evelyn host, Shorty. And today we're reviewing a small press one, and it's an unusual one, because you might always learn to do the small press ones. They're usually very rarely superhero titles. In fact, I very rarely do full-on superhero titles anyway, and if I do, it's usually Marvel and DC, either like doing a new miniseries or maybe launching something cool. This one is from AWA Studios, doing one called E-Ratic. And I was a little bit dubious from the get-go. That's simply because the general concept, the general concept is a kid who once every 24 hours has 10 minutes when he becomes a superhero, which is kind of cool. But because it's a 15-year-old kid, it's also going to be a lot of high school kind of stuff. My first thought was, feels a little bit Spider-Man-y. Now, obviously not the same thing, because Spider-Man actually has the whole thing with powers and everything like that. But even when you look at the cover, there's something like that pose, the upside down and the lightning, or the red lightning, looks, in fact, he's clearly holding onto it there. It does give a bit of a Spider-Man feel to it. And I'm not the only person saying that. Even before I read this one, there's a few other people who've been reviewing it saying that feeling kind of goes throughout. And it's true, it does. But it goes in a way which I really quite enjoyed. For a start, I'm going to show you just a little bit of the internal artwork, because the first page there shows him like counting down, because he's literally got a few seconds left to do something. But how cool does that look? Yeah. You jump maybe 2 pages in, and it's gone Riverdale. Kind of. I mean, it's still a bit more caricatured. I mean, yeah, clearly. But the guttering's kind of changed. The layout's different. The colouring. Although it's the same team involved, it goes for a very different look for it. When it's dealing with the actual, like, not just high school stuff, but just him being a kid, it does deliberately arc away from the kind of over-the-top, hyper-realistic, computer-colored stuff that the rest of it has. I'll say the rest of it. There's another couple of pages at the end. Pretty much all of it is just him being a teenage kid. And that's why I really liked it. I've said before, this kind of teenage drama thing kind of still grabs me, even though I'm a really old man right now. There's something about like that struggle of being uncomfortable in your own skin, which I remember quite distinctly. And this actually goes like really deeply into an awful lot of problems. His mum and dad, I assume, have split up. There's a little bit of that information in there, but not enough to make a full conclusion. And his mum has recently been taken in by an internet fraudster, where she had to pay a little bit upfront to start a checking account and then report for her job. But the job isn't there because it was a scam. So she just moved her entire family to a completely different town with no money whatsoever and no job. And they're in trouble because they haven't pay rent or deposits or anything like that. He's getting bullied in school. His big brother is a jock, and his big brother is, well, not a bully, you don't get that impression, but like he's kind of a blasé to the problems his younger brother's going through, and if anything, he's going to be friends with the kids who are bullying him. Something which I kind of have a little bit of history with. And all that kind of like childhood drama is actually done really quite effectively in a world where the teachers are also quite hypocritical. Like there's a little bit where it's like, oh no, we're going to study science here, but we're not going to get grades. It's more about the experience, and experience is really important, because what I bet you do in high school, the better chance you got to get into a good college. It's like, what? How do we know how we've done if we don't get grades? That's a good question. And then he doesn't answer it; just carries on. There's like 3 or 4 teachers you get encountered with, and they're all terrible people, but in different ways. And fundamentally, pretty much everyone is in this comic book. I don't think there's really a hero I've seen yet. The main guy looks quite nice, but who knows actually what's going on? This issue 1 of 5 could turn out he's a terrible human being who got these powers by doing something horrible. We don't know. But what it's based on is a very realistic portrayal of humanity. People trying to do good, or at least trying to deliberately not do bad. And a debate actually happens about the nature of being good. If it's something which you are forced to do, is it still good? Like altruism, as its entire concept, doesn't work if it's expected. That's like dealing with some quite high philosophical concepts. And that's really cool, because then a giant robot squid attacks at the end and he gets all superpowered, and somebody films it on a phone so they can go viral. Even this is a person who's been asked not to tell anyone about it and has so far come across as being quite a decent human being. Again, that dichotomy of who people are like on the surface, who they really are, what they think they can get away with, which ties in an awful lot with a lot of superhero tropes, like putting on a costume, wearing a mask. Does that change who you are fundamentally, or does it just give you an excuse to do stuff you wouldn't usually think you could get away with? All of that is covered in just one issue of this comic book about a 15-year-old kid with 10 minutes of superpowers a day. There's a lot going on there, but hardly anything to do with the superpowers. And I think that kind of shows what the smaller press can get away with. Simply because they don't do superhero stuff very often because it's kind of hard to like introduce a superhero concept without like having a lot of background to it. Think about like the new superheroes that get introduced in Marvel at the moment. Almost all new characters get introduced as like a cameo in somebody else's comic book, which secondary marketing goes crazy for, and it becomes like a viral story in its own right there. Whereas just launching an issue 1, where that's the first time you see a character, everyone kind of knows it's coming and can read about it ahead of time and decide if they want it without even reading it. It's a hard thing to do for a small company to actually take this risk and really push it as one of their big launches. That is a really, really solid thing to do, and it looks great while it's doing it. The guy who writes it also does the artwork for it, and his ability to split genre styling really quite nicely between high school drama and superheroes looks fantastic. The writing is great as well. Lots of really cool dialogue between characters, and the story arc so far is really, really cool. I'm trying to think if I've got a criticism for it. Probably the only thing I'll say is every once in a while the dialogue becomes a little bit superhero tropey. Not really a bad thing, because that's what he's doing, but it's not what I expected it to be. But still thoroughly enjoyable. Superhero one from a small press company, well worth checking out. Anyway, I've got well of my time, which I usually do, and I really enjoy something. So I'll be back tomorrow. Take it easy. Bye. Are we gone? Yeah.